The fishing news is brought to you by Interlux Marine Paint and Okuma.
So have you had enough political discussion on Facebook yet? I guess until the striped bass arrive and we sort out this summer flounder mess, that's about what we can expect from the social media universe. I'm Jim Hutchinson from the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine, here along the Raritan Bay this week, trying to find myself one of those early season striper hotspots. The weather's not exactly the best, but it's could be a lot worse. And calling around to some of the tackle shops and the captains this week, I really don't have that much to report, really. Some of the remaining party boats that are in, some of them have talked about pulling out, doing a little bit of winter maintenance before they get back in for the last couple of weeks of the blackfish action in February. I have spoken to quite a few captains, though. They're still sailing for blackfish. The weather hasn't been great offshore in the last few days, but a lot of folks are looking to put it into gear through this weekend. Blackfish continues to be the best bet wherever you go, from out of the Highlands, down Point Pleasant, Belmar, all the way down to Indian River Inlet. Several boats still sailing to the wrecks, and of course boats like the Big Jamaica continue to do that Saturday trip offshore to the wreck sites, looking for cod, jumbo porgies, and surprisingly a couple of weakfish have been brought in as well. It's something that surprises me every year, every couple of years. That Jamaica boat, the Big Jamaica, gets offshore and we astoundingly get a couple of weakfish reported. You always think of that being a north-south, south-north migration. Yet a couple of those jumbo tide runners, I wonder if they're heading west at this point and start for an early season on those trout in New Jersey and Delaware. Now, a few shops in Monmouth and northern Ocean County especially, talking about a pick of a few small resident stripers, guys throwing plastics in the wash. You really got to work for them, and you can't expect to get something, but a nice sunny day might be worth it. I spoke to John at Surf City Bait and Tackle on Long Beach Island this week. He said certainly if you find yourself a nice sunny day and put your time in on the beach all day with some frozen clam on a hook, you might end up with a resident striper or two. Although I did talk to John, he said a lot of folks are looking for minnows to head out into the pines because of this milder winter. There's so much open water. Putting a live minnow under a bobber and some of that open water out in the pine barrens, you get a tug on a line with one of those chain sides. It's kind of neat to think about too in the state of New Jersey. You got those pickerel, you've got northern pike, you've got walleye action along the Delaware River that should start in March sometime. Some guys I've spoken to recently getting out on open water for some of those trophy muskies as well. Now, the folks that I did talk to early in the week about ice fishing conditions, there's nothing really safe. So your best bet is to look for some of that open water. Now again, summer flounder, it's the big story. Quite a few people turned out for that rally in Point Pleasant at Fisherman Supply over on Friday, last Friday, January 27th. About 175 people out there at the rally. Folks fighting for better fluke regulations for 2017. Not every step is, or state I should say, is lining up like New Jersey. New Jersey DEP Commissioner Bob Martin told Friday's crowd enough is enough. He said the Governor Christie himself is steamed. That's exactly what he said on New Jersey 101.5 last week. And Mr. Martin says he'll personally attend the ASMFC meeting this week in Virginia to fight for better regulations. A great crowd in attendance, reminding me of some of those DC rallies we had back in 2010, 2012. In fact, this sign was one of those signs that has been running around the state and along the coast at many of these rallies. Now, Commissioner Martin is expected to speak on Thursday. You may have already seen this video, or you may see this video and he's already spoken. But as far as I understand, Commissioner Martin was expected to pour some concrete into that line in the sand he drew. They're really fighting for status quo. We will have more details on what comes out of this ASMFC meeting this week, next week at thefisherman.com. Sad news to report, we're told a 10% cut is what they're discussing on black sea bass too, 130% overbuilt, and we're still looking at cuts. Now, this weekend, as we're waiting to find out that information, you have several things that you can get out and do to keep yourself busy. I mentioned being on the Raritan Bay Anglers. They have their fishing flea market Saturday from 8 until 2. That's going to be held at Rutgers University in the Student Center. I'll be out there taking subscriptions, so come out and look for me. Maybe I'll wear my Rutgers hat as well. Lewis Harbor Marina down in Delaware. You fly casters looking for something to do on the weekend. Every Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon, the Delaware Fly Club meets That's definitely worth a trip out to Lewis Harbor if you want to get out of the cabin fever blues. Next Saturday, here's one for you rod builders. The folks from NERBS, Billy Vivona and NERBS will be out at Grumpy's Bait and Tackle in Seaside Park. That's February 11th. If you want to get out there and join that discussion with the NERBS and get into some rod building, if you're a new rod builder as well, make sure you call Grumpy's and get in on that. We have a full list of all the options to do throughout the region. That's in the February edition of the Fisherman magazine. You can pick that up at newsstands. You can get it over at your tackle shops. Or, of course, you can renew with me this Saturday at Rutgers University. I hope to see you there. And if I don't, we'll see you here next week with more on the Fluke Issue here at thefisherman.com.
The fishing news is brought to you by Indilux Marine Paint and Okuma.